Joining us now, Congressman 7th District Dave Brat. Congressman, good to have you with us, man.
Hey, great to be on as always. Thanks, John.
All right, now I'm fired up about your town hall meeting. You know, Dave, you make one comment. You make one little comment like, these people getting inside my grill. And it's been like all over the national news. You're a national figure now a second time because this one comment you made. Obviously, it drove everybody bananas. But now you've got a town hall meeting on Tuesday night. Give us the inside story on this.
Yeah, well, the comment, and now the Richmond Times-Dispatch is doing the fake news as well, covering it. So they're running their third news story in the news section on this comment. They got a piece out in the paper, and they're basically mocking me having a town hall down in my 3 new counties. They're saying that some of these activists that are hot and want a meeting, deserve a meeting, and if I gave them evidence of several thousand hits that they can go look at to find out who the activists are versus their true constituents that want to sit down and talk Obamacare, et cetera. And I told them very clearly that a constituent actually made that comment, and they printed that in the first news story. But now nothing to be found, and they got me in a nice gun sticker. And then they mocked me going down to meet with my 3 new counties. Powhatan, Nottoway, and Amelia. I mean, what do they think I would do? That's the first logical place you would go to have a town hall. And so it's really amazing when the fake news, who didn't, they obviously didn't endorse Hillary or Trump, the newspaper, and they've just been all out left for the past couple of years. So they're really changing their stripes, and now it's like a 2-page article they wrote. It's just Democratic talking points. I showed them the language. They have several thousand hits out of my Facebook. Colorful is to put it mildly. Swear words all over the place. I identified several activists who have, I can't say it on the radio, the language. There's a few leaders. I showed them who the leaders are. They won't put any of that in the newspaper. And so Trump was getting at a reality out there. And then they also don't report on the other town halls. McClintock had to be dragged out of a town hall by police because it was so unsafe. Staffs across the nation are being threatened to the point that staffs can't show up for work by some of these activist groups. And now everybody knows what's going on, right? And the New York Times has reported over the weekend that this is really turning off the moderate voter. And the middle voter is all turning toward Trump and Republicans because we have an agenda to improve their health care, to get the economy going, to get jobs back. They're already coming back. The stock market's up $2 trillion and up 12% in 2 months. And so you just look out your window, see what's going on. But boy, the politics right now is like something I've never seen, and it's all new in about the last 4 weeks.
You know what? Look, it's really crazy, and I saw that article when I got up today, and it went on forever. It must have been like 2,000. It was not really an article. It was like an essay that went on for 2,000 words or something.
Right.
So, Congressman, I didn't know what that was about. But look, you got 3 new cities in your district that just came online during redistricting in 2016. I mean, if I was your communications director, I would have said to you, the first town hall we have to have is in the areas that were just added to the district, so you can go and talk to those people. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. I mean, anybody would do that, right?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's the fake news. And so my office, of course, we want to reach out to those. We've already been down there, right? There are Fort Pickett's down there and the Fast C, new projects down there. And we've been meeting with people already. I get everywhere. And my staff, by the way, has also, the Richmond Times-Dispatch, the most false part of their narrative that they printed in their first news piece is, "Where is Dave?" And they said, "I'm inaccessible." These new activists who haven't been at any of my town halls for 2 years, right? I got a lot of constituents have sincere concerns. I want to make this clear. But there's a few activists guiding it all, and I showed the Times-Dispatch exactly who they are. And they are using language and tactics that you can't say them in public because there's kids listening. And so that's the new element that's going on out there. And it's just brutal politics right now because we won the election. We have an agenda the American people believe in, and there's good news coming around the bend on every front.
Well, all right, one thing. I just had Congressman Griffith on, your colleague, who said that he had a bunch of protesters at one of his town hall meetings, I guess one of his offices, I can't remember where, not Christiansburg, maybe Salem. And he said that when they were done with that meeting, they were getting on the bus and they were going to Fredericksburg to protest Whitman. So it's like they're just getting on a charter bus. This isn't like organic groups of people that are going to a town hall meeting or going to a protest. Somebody's paying for the bus, paying to feed them, paying for. I mean, somebody's paying for the bus, all right, to get them on to then go from Salem or wherever that was in Southwest Virginia to Fredericksburg, probably 3.5 hours to get from A to B. So you just shake your head with this stuff, and then you're right, Congressman. I read that article in the Times-Dispatch when I got up today, and I was shocked because it went on and on and on.
Yeah.
And they didn't have two sides of the story. It was just basically a hit piece on Brat. And I'm thinking to myself, what was the objective of this? You're talking about fake news. That's it. And if that was written as a column by somebody, I'd say fine, right? That's a columnist. They can say what they want. If it was on the editorial page as their opinion, that's fine, right? But that was written as a piece of news. It's garbage.
Right.
This is
I know it was, and it was written by basically a Democratic operative. It may well have been. They may well have helped write the article because they said, well, some of these voters voted for Dave in the primary versus Tanner, et cetera. I mean, they went out of their way at every turn to make it look like the activists are the mainstream folks. I don't recall them asking whether any of them voted for Trump. Right, that's the key question. Right now, there's just an ideological divide now between the Republicans and the Democrats on some of these issues.
Right.
And I do represent all constituents. Right. I want to hear all their views, and I do hear all their views. My staff compiled. I've been to over 500 meetings in my 2 years, 30 official town halls in public settings, over 500, approaching 600 meetings with constituents of all sorts. Right, Rotaries and churches and sports groups. And so I find it pretty incredible. And, of course, the paper doesn't print any of that. And I gave them all those facts, and they don't print any balanced version. It's pretty amazing what's going on out there in the fake media.
You know, it's absolutely asinine, and I'm glad that we're having this conversation because it is fake news, it is fake media, and that is the perfect example of this. This is a non-story. And, and then they put in there that, well, your first town hall meeting is an hour and 30 minutes outside of Metro Richmond. What the hell does that have to do with anything? I mean, that's where they change your district. What are you supposed to do?
Those are my people, right?
I mean, it's incredible.
Discounting my constituents, right? In favor of the people who are screaming loudest, and they want me to respond to a few of the activists who are wreaking all the havoc and calling in their office, and that's about it.
All right, so tomorrow you have your town hall meeting. It's at a tavern. Where is it? Tell everybody where it is.
Yeah, it's down in Nottoway, and everyone can just go out to brat.house.gov on the official side, and we'll have all the details right there.
All right,
so we're looking forward to it, but we just want to have a civil dialogue on the issues, right? We'll be curious to see, will we have a rational dialogue on public policy issues? I hope that's what we have. That's the purpose of a town. I want to talk with all the constituents that are there, address as many questions as I can, but that's the goal, and then we'll see what some of these protesters have in mind.
Well, look, so you want to have this town hall meeting. You want to have respectful dialogue. You're not going to leave early like Chavez did. I thought that was really a mistake. Just listen to your constituents and what they have to say, and we'll let the chips fall where they may. But the two things that you mentioned earlier, I think, bear repeating. And this spells big trouble for these Democrats that want to impeach Trump, resist Trump, stop Trump.
Right.
Two pieces of info here that Gallup put out the other day. One is 66%, that's two-thirds of Americans, think the economy is moving in the right direction, and they're very optimistic. Okay? And as I have said, Congressman, over and over, economic prosperity and jobs is the great equalizer. It's the great unifier. You get that going, people are going to feel positive about what's happening. But the second poll out there is 65% or 2/3 of Americans want the Democrats to work with President Trump and the Republicans to move the country ahead. That's the exact opposite what the hardcore Democrats are saying. So doesn't that really spell trouble for them going forward?
Yeah, well, it does. And, I mean, you can just look. I mean, the Democrats, some of the congressmen and women were calling for impeachment within the first week, right?
Crazy.
I mean, nothing happened yet, and they're calling for the impeachment because they lost an election. So that's number one. But you're exactly right. In my book, right, American Underdog, I laid this all out 3 years ago. It's been my whole life project, is economics and ethics. And I said in the book, you put together the Judeo-Christian tradition, the rule of law, and free markets. And all three of those bring people together, right? The point is to unify everyone. The left right now, the very far left, is attacking on race and gender and ideology, trying to divide this country. I, on the other hand, the Republican Party, the Republican creed is a unifying document. We want to bring everybody together, and we can name the criterion by which we bring everybody together. The Judeo-Christian tradition, the rule of law, and free markets. And as soon as you lift this market, right, a lot of this anxiety is going to go away. When you put money back in people's wallets, food on the table, where kids can go to college and find a job, all of a sudden the anxiety level is going to lift, and everyone will see we're the good guys. They're trying to unify the country. We got a positive tone. I've never run a negative ad. I just went to Mass this Sunday, and it was on love your enemy, right? Love everybody. Anyone can love your friends, right? And so I've never said a nasty word about another human being. I don't ever plan to. I have. If I have, it's been a mistake. But in politics, I never have. And I've encouraged folks who disagree with me to go back and check. Never run a negative ad. I always keep it positive, and that's what I intend to do. And I enjoy meeting with constituents. I used to do economics and ethics and teach and give talks at Rotaries on economics and ethics for free as a volunteer. So as part of my job, I enjoy it just as much or more.
All right. And one of the things I remember you had written when you were running against Eric Cantor and during the campaign when I was trying to figure out who you are, like, who is this guy? I remember reading one of your essays, and you basically said, and I'm doing this from memory, when people are good, markets are good, right? I mean,
exactly, and
right?
That's it, right? The demand curve is the consumer. The supply curve are business people, right? The suppliers of goods. And so the left, by contrast, in higher ed especially, teaches that markets and capitalism are bad or evil even, following Karl Marx, right?
Right.
Well, then you're saying people are bad. Right. So if you want a good country, you got to make sure consumers are good, suppliers are good. We got to teach ethics in schools. And then you get kids, right, in the inner cities who want to have some hope. When you tell them business, the only way they have to make money is bad. What a depressing thought, right?
Right.
Instead of lifting up everybody and saying, hey, let's get everybody out there in that labor market, get you the skills you want. I want everybody in this country rich, everybody in the labor market. And that's a positive vision. And so we have a vision and the policies in place. The left right now is just spinning, right? They're just reeling, and a lot of it in anger because they don't have a policy agenda that can unite the country, and they know it. So that's stirring up their anxiety.
All right, exactly. I want to get your take here on a comment that Chief of Staff to President Trump, Reince Priebus, made yesterday on Fox News Sunday, where he was talking about the fact that President Trump is doing good things to give confidence to businesses, right? Which is also showing up now in the polling data that people feel more comfortable.
And the truth is, day after day after day, we have good stories to tell, great accomplishments, businesses coming back, the stock market's at an all-time high, companies like GM, Ford, Chrysler, Intel, all across this country are adding jobs by the thousands. And it's because President Trump is doing the things every day to give confidence to business owners and workers across America that things are getting done positively. Instead, we're talking about stupidity and intelligence reporting that is based on facts that's not coming out of the actual heads of these intelligence agencies, and we're sitting here talking about it, and it's a shame, and it needs to end.
What was your take on that, Congressman Brat?
But it's just what we've been talking about. I mean, the success is already coming. The far left is freaking out because they see it coming, right? Once you get the animal spirits going, right? That's the economist Keynes' old phrase for getting the positive psychological energy out there in the markets and the business community, whatever. Boom, it's happening right now, right? We've already had 13 regs put through, down, getting rid of burdensome and these are huge. These aren't small little things, right? This is Dodd-Frank stuff, the fiduciary rule, overtime rule. This is big stuff we're trying to get through to help business. And I have a 100% business score. Kane and Warner are, I think Kane's at 18, Warner's at 34 or something last cycle on NFIB small business, right? So there's a new day coming, and instead the left is just throwing spaghetti at the wall on the Russia thing. Like they have no evidence, they have no charge to make, and so they're just doing a fishing expedition. And it's worse than that; they're leaking, right? Some inside the intel community, left over from the past administration, are actually leaking against the person they work for, the President of the United States. They work under the President, and so that's pretty concerning to every American. When the average American finds out that the government is leaking against the President of the United States, that's pretty worrying.
Well, you go to prison for this, especially if it's sensitive information. And now we find out one of the things that we're looking at is how did the transcript of the conversation between General Flynn and the Russian ambassador, how did that get leaked? How did that get released? That's illegal. Who did that? Was that Brennan at the time? Was that Clapper, Ben Rhodes? I mean, this thing is getting out of control, and these leaks are dangerous. But you're right on this whole Russian thing. I mean, talk about fake news. There's no evidence of anything. I mean, the Times, I think it was the Times that ran a story last week that said there were campaign aides calling Russian operatives during the Trump campaign. I mean, I don't know who these people were. They had no evidence of it, and they said there's no evidence. It was just unnamed sources. I mean, I was there as intricately involved as anybody. I can tell you there was nobody that talked to anybody in Russia. I mean, I don't know what they're talking about or how they come up with this stuff.
Yeah, well, that's what got Trump pretty animated in that press conference, right? And it was the New York Times didn't just say one or two; they said there's continuous feedback to Russian spies, right? I mean, with no continuous feedback between the Trump campaign and the Russian agents, et cetera. I mean, that is fake news. And for the New York Times, I mean, that tells you where they're at. I mean, and just go to the op-ed pages, right? The New York Times, the Washington Post, or whatever.
It's all
you'll
there.
see.
It's all nonsense.
It's one paper after the other. It's just completely trashing the Republican side, the Trump side, et cetera. But now the American people know. I mean, so it's a new day, and people are going to all sorts of alternative sites, and the truth detector like yourself, who tells it like it is on a regular basis, and that matters. And then people can sort out the truth, right? When you can provide facts, and the other side can't, it's a problem. And then part of the issue I'm going to talk at the town hall on is, if the country would have followed our agenda in the first place and chosen free markets, right? China and India have now chosen free markets, and they're growing like crazy, lifting 2.5 billion people out of poverty. And so part of the irony is we're in the ditch right now, right? Our healthcare system is spiraling out of control. Aetna and all the biggies are announcing this week or in last week, they're pulling out, right? It is in a death spiral, according to the CEOs of the major insurance companies. So it's done. And so then who has to find a real solution? The Republican Party does, right? So we have to repeal it and replace it.
Right.
And then people get upset at us because we're the cars in the ditch and we're the tow truck, right? We have to fix the thing.
Right.
And so, where was the process for the last 8 years when there was a systematic healthcare design that failed? Where's the reporting?
Well, they were defending
it.
They were defending
the economy
it
at 1.5%. And wages flat for 30 years, right?
Right.
So it's all common sense.
Okay, so I've only got a minute. Obamacare replacement. Where is the Republican House now? Do you guys have a plan?
Yeah, there's several plans. The leadership plan looks like it's going to be the price plan. And one of the problems is the first thing you got to do is a full repeal, right? If you don't do a full repeal, you're going to be left with these insurance markets in a death spiral. You can't take part of a failing system and keep it in place, right? You got to repeal the whole thing and start over from scratch. And then, but let me also assure the folks, we have every plan I've seen, right? No one's going to lose their insurance day one, et cetera, right? There's 2-year transition periods to make sure everyone maintains care. We're working on all sorts of high-risk pools, so people with pre-existing conditions will be taken care of. And the major problem is the cost curve is going up at 20% right now, right? Obama said you can keep your doctor, you can keep your insurance, and we're going to bend the cost curve down. That means -1.
Right.
It's not going down. Costs are going up at 20, and it's bankrupting Medicare and Social Security, and so your kids won't get any of those systems in about 20 years.
Right.
And that's the issue. And where's the press on that?
Nowhere.
Healthcare costs are the major drivers of a lot of the entitlements, and they're bankrupt. They're insolvent. Medicare and Social Security are insolvent in 2034. That's not that far off. When your kids are at their retirement age, those systems will be gone under current law.
They're insolvent in 2034, and the media is nowhere on it because it doesn't fit their narrative right now, which is the problem what we've been talking about. I'm out of time. I want to thank Congressman Dr. Dave Brat for being with us. He's got a town hall meeting on Tuesday night in the southern part of the 7th District. For more information, go to brat.house.gov on that. Dave, it's always good to have you on. We appreciate it, and we appreciate your straight talk here on the John Fredericks Radio Network, your source for the truth in America. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks for making it possible. Thanks, John.